mentioned earlier that somebody had bent the hood. That's what I'm dealing with right now. Just the fender is nice and straight. The hood's got a crown in it right here. So we're going to bump this a little more. It's feeling really good there. Alright guys, so I just took the primer off and went down to the layer of paint that was underneath just to get an idea as to the size of the dents and what they look like. And it actually looks like somebody pushed down with their hands on the hood trying to close it. And there's like a palm print there and a really big one here. And I noticed some rust also coming up, so we're just going to take and shrink these areas with the paint on here. Then we'll take this hood, send it out for blasting, and reprime it properly. So in order to fix this, you have to understand what's going on here. When somebody pushes down in these two areas, or let's take this area here for example, if somebody pushes down here, you're stretching the surrounding material. And if you start shrinking this area with a torch or whatever, or driving it up, you're going to create more ripples. What you have to do is remove the stretch that was created in this area. And that's what I'm going to focus on with the shrinking disc. I'm going to work these areas here, and that'll naturally bring this area back up to where it has to be. And you don't need much. It's not down a lot, but it's enough to cause a dent, and really we don't want filler in these areas. So by running the shrinking disc over these blue areas, which are the high spots, it'll shrink the material, and the material will come up, and we should eliminate most of this, this trouble here. You see it's coming up, that primer spot is getting smaller and smaller, and this blue area is getting larger, so that's what we want. We want this material to shrink in this area and bring that dip down, bring that dip up, sorry. Okay, so that's feeling good. It's cooled off again, so now I'm going to take it and hit it again with the shrinking disc, and that'll suck that up again. Getting smaller and smaller now. But as you heat it up, you don't want to overheat it. It'll cause more issues. We're slowly bringing these areas up. It's getting a little bit warm, so I gotta take a break, let that cool off, and then hit this again. Okay, I let this cool off. Now I'm going to take and hit it with the DA again and see what shows up. So after a few minutes of running the shrinking disc over this and running the DA over it, you can see these gray areas are starting to come up. They're getting smaller. The crown on the hood is also increasing. We used to have quite a low spot. It didn't look that low, but now that the surrounding material has come up, it's giving us a nice crown to this hood again. So that's a good thing. What I'm going to do now is do an on and off dolly technique where I back this up with a dolly and then work the surrounding material down with a slapper and kind of even the two areas out. It'll just make things a little more uniform for the shrinking disc to attack this area. So let's get the dollies out. And see, we've got a structure in here too that kind of, it's in a way for us to get into certain areas. But we're going to do the best we can, and hopefully the shrinking disc will take care of the rest of these low spots. Got to be very gentle when you're doing this because you don't want to overstretch it. Okay. Now there's structure in the way here, so that's going to make things tricky for this spot here. This spot I can feel it's naturally high, so we'll bump that down. Okay. Bump that down. I think we're going to have to depend on the shrinking disc just for this area here. Alright guys, well you can see how much these gray areas have shrunk. This is almost the size of a toonie, about 1.25 inch in diameter. This one here was about 6 inches wide, 7 inches tall. It's down to about 3 by 3. And we have a little bit happening here, which is shrinking down. So we're getting there. It's really close right now. Coat a high build will probably take care of most of that. But we're going to sand this down one more time and see how it looks. We might pass a shrinking disc over this area here. This should be fine. This should be one more time with the disc, and we might have to just address and play with this area up in here. But we've got the nice crown back in the hood. This peak is feeling really good. That's it for this side. Hit it one more time with the shrinking disc. Get rid of that gray area, and then primer will take care of the rest. Let this cool off now. We are, let's say, 95% there. A low spot there. I'm going to bump that up with a slapper in a second. And that spot is almost gone. So the shrinking disc is a really powerful tool in the sense that you can accomplish a lot and not have to use fillers, or you can make a mess of your panel if you don't know what you're doing. This could just go the other way if you over shrink it. So you have to know how much pressure to apply and where to apply it, how long to apply it. And well, we're just about there with this. This one's almost gone. And that one there, as soon as we sand that out, that should be gone as well. And no Bondo. Alright guys, well that's it. Both sides have been repaired, and all you're going to need is a nice coat of high build primer, block it out, and it's done. No Bondo. But not before we send it off to the blaster. We have some funny little rust spots that are coming up through that primer that was ready for paint at one point. And if they painted it, it'd be, well, it wouldn't have been a good thing. So we're going to get this stripped down to the bare metal, get it washed, epoxy prime it, and then start with our high builds, and then go from there. So I hope you liked this episode. I hope you liked the little insight we gave you with the shrinking disc. It's not a magical disc, not a magical tool. It just heats up the high spots, allows the low spots to come up, and give you a nice level finish. As you can see, it's a low crown panel, and we have no oil canning here. There is a substructure underneath that helps hold it up, but usually after you have some huge dents like that, you'll end up with oil canning if you try to fix it and it's not fixed the right way. We've got everything on the body sealed up, and just test fitting things one more time. So I'm going to go show you guys. This is an aftermarket front piece, and you can see the radius of this doesn't match the cowl, so that'll have to be addressed later on. But the other side came out very well. And in gray primer, you guys can really see the gaps, how well they've cleaned up. Nice and consistent all the way up. The hood, fender, and door match up at the top. We've got the proper spacing between the A-pillar there and the door. The door gaps came out really nice between the fender and the door. As we move towards the back, again, the gap is spot on. Now this will come down ever so slightly as soon as we get the window mechanisms and glass and everything in the doors, because that does provide weight to the door, and that's going to settle down, allowing this feature to line up perfectly. Coming around to the back here, the trunk lid, spoiler pieces, all coming together really, really well. You have to address this spot here on the trunk. And then the passenger side door came out really nice. So again, the top of the door, fender, and hood all line up nice. Come down to the bottom, we have a nice consistent gap all the way through. and the hood gap to the fender. If you remember, we had discontinuity between the fascia and the fender. This was diving in. This is an aftermarket piece. So we had that adjusted, brought that in so everything lines up nice and smooth. And then the bumperettes. Nice consistent gap all the way around. Fits perfectly. There you go, guys. It can be done. Just take some time to adjust all the gaps. And like I said, it's a matter of knowing where to push and how much to push. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this helps you guys out in some way on setting body gaps. If you have any comments or questions regarding something on your car, a particular area, or how you should approach something, I'll do my best to answer it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Take care, guys.